I'm doing it, friends. Today is the day. It's time to read Valor. Now, I'm going to keep this non-spoilery, which could be very hard, but I did read book 1, Malice, for BookTube Bestie earlier this year, and I had a great time. I finished the book. 5 stars. 5 stars. I loved it. It's in the BookTube Bestie playlist. It's Jade's BookTube Bestie, and it's one of my favorite reads of the year. I adored it. Everyone has been waiting for me to pick the series back up because I loved Malice so much. I cried after reading Malice. I sat on my bed. It was like 4 a.m. I had binged in a day. I was real tired. I was overtired, and I sat there and I cried because I just loved the book so much. Like nothing, not because of the book, like not because of like actions in the book, but I just cried because I was like, frick, that was really good. And everyone says they get better. So here I am. I have not been emotionally prepared to pick up more of the series yet, but today feels like the day. I'm going live on reading sprints to read it. So like if you want my real-time reactions, reading sprints will have some of them, and you can go watch that reading sprint. It's literally, I think, can I read Valor in a day? You'll also get this video. So here we go. I haven't started it yet. I'm about to start it. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm not ready, but I'm so ready at the same time. Should I tell you what book 1 is about? Book 1, Malice. I hate explaining books. Malice is about the Banished Lands, and we have a prophecy of the darkest star versus the brightest star versus the darkest sun. The brightest sun versus the darkest moon. Where is this prophecy? Is it on this first page? What is it again? I forget. The brightest star versus the blackest sun. And you, in Malice, follow these characters that think they're a part of this prophecy. And you just go on a classic fantasy tale. Like, it's very true to classic fantasy, but I think there's rich cultures in this. I think the characters, I personally think, are done well. I know there's some critiques about them, but I was rooting for Corbin from the very beginning, and I'm just really excited to get back into this world. I feel like it was very fleshed out for me. It felt really real to me, and yeah, so I'm stalling, but I'm gonna go start now. Bye. Sorry for this like really close up angle, but I'm a chapter in already. I think I'm technically on chapter 3 because chapter 1 is like a weird chapter. It's almost like a prologue to me, like what should have been the prologue. And then chapter 2, we're in, I don't know how to say her name, Gwen's POV. I'm already obsessed. I love Gwen's writing. And these younger characters, man, he makes me feel for them. I loved Corbin and I loved Gwen in the last book, and I have a feeling I'm going to love Gwen even more as this book continues. This first chapter with her and like seeing what happened after the end of the first book and what's going on now, it just pulls on my heartstrings as like she feels like such a grounded character. She feels like a real character to me. If I was put in that spot, these are reactions I would have. My heartstrings are being pulled on already, and I'm so excited to keep reading. I have a bone to pick. Now, I have become a much more critical reader in the last couple months. I know that, and part of that is because of you guys, because I want to be able to critically give my thoughts as I read. I don't want to just sit here and be like, I really liked this book, you should read it, or I really didn't like this book, don't read it. I want to be able to pick out the things I liked, the things I didn't like, things that worked for me. You can go into a book being like, oh, I like those things in a book, I'm going to pick this book up, or I don't like those things in a book, I can avoid those things. So I try to very much like critically pick apart books now, whether I like them or I don't like them. But I'm going to sit here and tell you, when I read Malice, I critically thought very little. If you go back to that video, most of it is me going, oh my god, this book is so good. And I'm hoping, and I feel like I'll have this exact same feeling with this book. I do think, oh my god, this series is so good. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm not going to pick things apart that bother me. I will probably still give it 5 or 4 stars, but I will be here to tell you things. I think a lot of people watch my channel because I'm critical about some stuff. And yes, I am known to sometimes sit and critically analyze things and say, I didn't like this, I didn't like this, I didn't like this, I didn't like this, and give it 5 stars or give it 4 stars. But that's just the kind of reader I am, where I can notice those things and not have that affect my enjoyment completely. So my bone to pick with this is, I have been told 3 different times in the span of 70 pages about a conversation that needs to happen. I have been led to this conversation to have it come about and be like, you're not ready for it. I'll tell you a little bit now, but more later. And then the next chapter is us beating around that conversation again, just another character trying to have that conversation, and the one character being like, I can't tell you because I need to tell this character first. And then literally the next page was our one character who needs to learn about it first, and another character discussing how this conversation needs to happen. Stop beating around the bush. I do see how those conversations and those things happen in real life, but it becomes very frustrating to me in a book, and especially the ones where it's like, I'll tell you a little bit, but I won't tell you more until later. I find that very frustrating. I find it very lazy. I find it a very lazy way to try and tell me that this is important, that this, to get me intrigued about a conversation, but to not have to tell me all of it then. Like, it doesn't need to be so heavy-handed that this conversation is important. I don't need to see it 3 times within the span of like 20 pages. Like, obviously I've read 70 pages, but it's literally happened in the span of about 20, 30 pages that I've had this conversation 3 times come up. And it just doesn't need to be as heavy-handed. I like the scene of Ban realizing he needs to have this conversation when he's talking it through with this person that's kind of his mentor, but I did like that conversation. But did I need the conversation beforehand, literally a couple paragraphs before? No. Did I need that conversation again beforehand? No. I think it's just a little bit you're beating the path down, and it's just a little bit of writing that I don't like. But I know people are going to come on here and hear this and think, oh, you didn't like the book so far. I'm loving this. I'm literally loving it. The characters are just my happy place. I really, really am attached to some of these characters. I'm really excited to see where the story is going, and I love the world, the politics, the war. I'm loving this. I truly am loving it, but I did just want to critically give you my thinking about that small little thing. Like, it's so small, but it is something that I notice, I get annoyed with, and I need it to stop happening. Okay, I have made it to page 157. And I finally do feel like I've got my footing down. I feel like I'm now at a point where, like, I'm not as confused. I've kind of figured out where things are, what happened in the last book. I've, like, really just kind of got the basis of what happened in the last book that's really important in this book down. So I'm finally at a point where, like, I can enjoy it. And I can enjoy it well. I think we're finally doing the thing in this book that I loved in the last book. We are seeing these characters struggle with their decisions. Am I making the wrong decision? Am I making the right decision? I watched Maria and Sarah and Kristen and Kate's live show when they read Malice, and one of the things Maria talks about is how this series is always sold as, like, who is the brightest star and who is the blackest sun, and people, so she went into it expecting, like, to be confused the whole time, and you're not. You're truly not confused who is who. At least as far as I know. Maybe John Gwynne will, like, shock me at the end with some reveals, but the characters themselves are struggling with this, and each side thinks that they are the savior, they are the hero, they are going to save the world. And seeing some characters back other characters because of this prophecy and be like, he's the savior in the prophecy, but why does this feel so wrong? And, like, kind of just sit there and, like, be tormented by the fact that they're doing the wrong things, but, like, they think it's for the right reasons, just is what I truly loved about Malice. What I truly think I'm going to love about this series. That black and white can be twisted, like, it can be twisted so many ways. And I talk about this in a lot of stories I love. It's a really big theme. I love discussions on black and white, good versus evil, but, like, the points in between. I want those moments. I don't want it to always just be good against evil. And, like, yes, in this book, I will say it is good against evil, but I think John Gwynne does a very good way of being like, but there's things that are happening, and there's characters who are good, but they're doing evil things because they think that they're doing the good things. And it just, I love that. I love that. I love that. I'm so excited to finally be, like, enjoying this again. Like, yes, yes, yes. I'm happy. I'm not as, like, all in as I was in the first book, but I think I expected that because I remember Erin telling me at some point that, from Booked and Busy, that Valor was her least favorite in the series. And I tend to be very on par with Erin's thoughts on books. I mean, Shadow of What Was Lost, I'm looking at you. So I'm hoping that this will be probably my least favorite, but that the rest will go up from here. But also, I just adored Malice so much that it kind of has, like, a pretty spot in my heart that I don't know if anything will top it, just because it was right timing for me to read a book like that fairly. Like, if I had read it any other time, would I have loved that so wholeheartedly? I don't know, but sometimes it's just, like, right timing, right book, and I think Malice was one of those times. I think I would have still enjoyed the book, but I do think that it was right timing to have, like, that literal guttural reaction. I needed a book like that. So yeah, let's keep reading. That's just... It is the next day. I'm literally halfway into Valor. And yes, I said it was the next day, but I realize I'm wearing the same shirt. That is life with me. I wear the same shirt for days in a row because it's just, like, comfy. But I'm halfway through. This book has definitely really picked up for me. I struggled really hard with the first half of not being connected to characters enough because I was too confused and putting together so much that happened in book one. I think this book could have very much used a summary at the beginning of the book. Those are becoming much bigger in fantasy now, though. I do think that this could be an addition if they decide to ever, like, reprint them or just, like, to add them onto new prints, is a summary. And yeah, like, that was really just my struggle, is I was just, like, very lost because I read Malice 8 months ago. The other thing I didn't like is that the point of views do double in this one pretty much. Like, there is a whole lot of new POVs, which, while still being confused about what happened in book one and having the addition of so many more POVs, and I had to, like, really think every time I got a POV, like, did I get this POV in the last book? Like, am I supposed to remember this person so vividly? Because I don't. And I had to, like, start to accept that, no, you didn't get POVs from those people, and you just kind of had to accept that you weren't going to know them as in-depth. But I do think I kind of struggled with some of that. There's one POV in this specifically that I find really, really, really boring, but her POV is very important. There are a lot of things that happen in her POV. I think that I find that sometimes I'm missing little tidbits because I just kind of zone out when I'm reading her POV because I find it very boring. So I have to, like, go back and reread the chapter, which is really annoying because I'm not enjoying that chapter as much and I just want to get to new chapters. There's just not enough Corbin, but I am really liking Cohen. That's how you say it. I learned it. POV a lot, and I'm really liking Veritas' POV, and as always, I'm liking Corbin's POV. But Veritas has really much grown on me in this book, and I'm really enjoying his chapters specifically. But I will say Cohen, I always forget she's 18. I always think she reads a little bit younger than she is. I think she reads younger than Corbin, but it's actually the opposite way. It could be just a man writing a female. It could just be whatever. Like, it could literally be anything. It might just be a me thing. So I am really enjoying this. I think the last half of this book will be much more of a love for me now that I'm kind of settled into the writing. I definitely will not be taking that long to read Rune because I think I just did myself dirty not having read Malice recently, and a reread would have been really, really good. That's all I had to say. I'm really liking it. We're getting stakes happening, and yeah, there's a big opening of the world. I'm enjoying it a lot. No, I wanted Thayer's POV! It's over. Time to read book 3. The one time I don't want Corbin's POV, it's all we get. I just wanted to see the fair afterwards. That was a solid ending. John Gwynne knows how to end his books. Okay, so I finished Valor, obviously, with the last thing you just saw from me. You'll know that. And I ran it through my rating system and it ended up with a 4-star. It was quite a low 4-star for me. I was worried for a little bit that it wouldn't get that 4-star. It would actually end up being a higher 3-star because I do have some issues with the writing in this book and just some overall inconsistencies. And I felt very validated actually when I started to look on Goodreads and other reviews of Valor. I think either Malice is the weakest book or Valor is the weakest book for you, and the rest will go up from here. At least that's what I'm hoping from what I got from reviews. But I think it's time to talk final thoughts on Valor. So to sum this book up, this was a whole lot of action. This book is at a breakneck speed the entire time. We pick up right where Malice ends, and then it's just action, 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 action. And I typically like a action-packed, battle-packed book. I mean, I think that Ashes of the Sun is another book that is very action-packed, but I still want those small character moments. I love character growth, character development, and I still want overall plot. I don't want action to be the main focus of the book, and I do think in some ways there was too much action in this book for me, especially the first half. It was either like traveling or a battle scene, and I missed connecting to characters. I really, really missed that. Something I loved about Malice was I was addicted to those characters, and I still feel that way about all the characters that I loved in Malice. I still love them in here. Any new POV I got, I don't really care about. I think the addition of a million new POVs and this action-packed story led to not having enough time with any of the characters. I think although we had groups that were together, not being in a singular POV for a certain amount of time really left me feeling a little bit disconnected, maybe a little bit jarred. I missed having more moments within one character's head and then more moments within another character's head. That's personal preference. And I don't know what it is. And I mean, I've been known to love multi-charactered POV stories. I think the Live Ship Traders is very much multi-POV'd, lots and lots of POVs, but there's something just about Robin, there's just something about Hobbs' character work in that is still as equal as if it had only been one singular POV, and I think Valor was really lacking that for me. I wanted those character moments to really come to life. And now that we've gotten that, like, I guess I also want to say, though, that I did love these characters. And I think in my Discord, I put that Gwyn has a way of making me absolutely love some characters and not care at all about others. And that's what I really felt in this book. Like, the characters I cared about, I cared about. I loved the discussion we talked about earlier with, like, the good and evil and the moments in between. And I loved where this book is going for future books. I had a really good time reading this book. I gave it 4 stars. Like, I enjoyed my time with this book, and I think it's gonna come across as if I didn't, but I had such high expectations because of my love for Malice that this is a little bit disappointing to me, but like, a disappointing 4-star is still so much better than an amazing 3-star. Like, let's just put it that way. I forget what I was saying. My train of thought is everywhere. I don't know, but I really, really liked so much of this book. Like, I really did. I fell more in love with some of the characters. Like, obviously, I've always said that I loved Corbin, but I think Cohen really stood out to me as a character that I could love. Now, I don't think Gwyn can write females very well, and all of his female characters are very, like, similar. But I do like Cohen's character, and I think that if Gwyn can considerably grow Cohen as a character and write her a little bit better, she could be a really good character. I loved being in Veritas's head. I obviously still loved Corbin, and I really adored, it starts with a C. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at names. Connell? Not Connell. Camlin. I really liked Camlin's POV in this, which I liked him a little bit in the first one, but I did really like him in this one, but I was surprised how much I liked him, even though I did find his POV very repetitive. He was always just telling us that he could run away, like he used to run away, but he feels some sense of loyalty for some reason. And I mean, I don't think I need to be told this a million times because he showed me. I think in the writing it showed me that he was choosing to stay. Maybe I just missed it in Malice because I was having such a good time, but in this book I really felt like the writing was heavy-handed, and I'm hoping that gets better for me. And then overall, I felt like this book was not what I almost feel like, I want to say it had middle book syndrome, but that's not right. But I feel like Malice had a very, like, big plot, like, start and finish. When I started Malice, I knew where the ending was leading to. Like, I knew where the book was leading me to the entire time. Yes, it was opening up way more doors for the entire series, but I felt like when I ended Malice, that's what I had expected when I started Malice. Like, I knew that that was the concluding point. I feel like Valor was just about Gwyn saying, I missed a bunch of stuff that you need to know for this series, and just, like, opening up the world so much. He just wanted to showcase other parts of the world, other things that are going to matter to the overall story. I felt like there wasn't a very good, like, plot thread that I could follow in this one for just, like, this particular book. I think I can follow this plot thread through to the other books, but I don't think that this book necessarily had, like, a very effective start and end story within a story, if that makes sense. And I do like, I don't know, I like both. I like them done both ways, but I wanted this done a little bit better. As I said though, it's still a 4-star. I still loved it. I still enjoyed it. I still can't wait to pick up Rune. Like, I'm gonna finish Emperor of Rune and my Darcy Coates book, and then I'm gonna pick up the next book because I'm excited. I want to know what's happening with these characters. I'm obsessed with this world. I think one of the things that really gave this a 4-star over maybe that high 3 was in my rating system. It got like a 9 for setting and world building. I find Gwyn's, like, cultures very, like, immersive. I really enjoy the world. And yeah, if this is a really great world building thingy. I don't know what else to say besides that although I had all these critical thoughts that I've just shared with you, please remember I gave this book 4 stars. Like, I really adored it, and I really hope more of you pick this series up. I'm always looking for people to talk to about this dang series. And I'm really glad that I finally picked it up. And if you have read Malice recently, pick Valor up and don't be like me. Don't wait 8 months, because it's definitely worth continuing, and you'll probably like it a lot better than I did if you're not confused for 200 pages. And I liked it a lot! So yeah, I'm ending this vlog here because I'm gonna go read and sleep. But thank you all so much for joining me. If you aren't feeling chatty and you want to leave me a comment to let me know you were here, leave me some kind of weapon, because Faithful and the Fallen series always have weapons on the covers for my editions. And if you'd like to connect with me on other platforms, my bookstore, my book Twitter, my Goodreads, and my Patreon are all linked in the description bar below. Have yourselves a remarkable day.